reports in a perfect and absolute literal and exact manner the personal confirmation that Archbishop Capovilla, Emeritus Confidential Secretary of Pope John XXIII, gave to me about the existence of two different texts of the third secret of Fatima.
On May 10, 2007, Cardinal Bertone published his response to Sochi in a book-length interview entitled The Last Seer of Fatima. Rather than directly responding to the challenges posed by Dr. Sochi, the Cardinal instead resorted to personal attacks against the man himself. Throughout the writing of his book, until the present, Cardinal Bertone has refused to speak with Sochi, despite the fact that Sochi and Bertone previously had been on friendly terms. Dr. Sochi easily refuted Cardinal Bertone's book in a newspaper article dated May 12, 2007. Unable to let the matter rest, on May 31, 2007, Cardinal Bertone appeared on the popular Italian television program Porta a Porta to deny the premise of Sochi's book. But Sochi was not allowed on the program, even though other journalists who knew far less about Fatima appeared on the set to interview the Cardinal. Sochi later learned from the television station that Bertone made it clear that he wanted no challenges to his position on the broadcast. Dr. Sochi refuted Cardinal Bertone's TV presentation on June 2nd, just 2 days later, in a second newspaper article.
On September 21, 2007, Cardinal Bertone held another event for the official presentation of his book, The Last Seer of Fatima, held here at the Pontifical Urbaniana University in Rome. We are here in front of its entrance. This event was attended by government dignitaries, bankers, Vatican prelates, and members of the press. In an attempt to once again have his questions answered by the Cardinal, Antonio Sochi, I was with him here that day, attended the event. After he learned from the director of the Vatican press office that the Cardinal would not allow any questions to be asked of him, Sochi and I proceeded to the main entrance of the auditorium, hoping to ask a question of the Cardinal on his way in, before he would enter inside the Aula Magna for the presentation. On the arrival of the Cardinal, seeing Sochi at the entrance of the Aula Magna, Bertone changed his route and darted in another entrance. When the journalists present saw what had happened and Bertone's behavior, they immediately questioned Sochi about the controversy. At this moment, Vatican security quickly descended upon us, demanding Sochi to stop speaking with the press. Sochi replied that he was a journalist and was not causing a problem for anyone. It was a public venue, and he had every right to be there and to talk with his colleagues. But the security then drove us by force from the university. They scratched one of my fingers while taking my cell phone by force from me. They demanded that I not record anything, something I wasn't doing anyway. Perhaps they were thinking of the cassette recording of my last conversation that I had with Archbishop Capovilla. That tape was in Sochi's briefcase, and on that tape, the Secretary of Pope John XXIII confirmed explicitly that there is or there was an attachment to the secret published in 2000, and that attachment is still unpublished to this day.
So why is the Vatican doing this? Why would the Vatican, first of all, the amount of intellectual degeneration that had occurred to allow them to even present this as a plausible scenario is absolutely shocking. But why would they do it? You know, forget why they think they can get away with it. Why would they do it? Because if the third secret is about a diabolical disorientation among the hierarchy, which is going to endanger the dogmas of the faith in many countries, this is obviously an indictment against the hierarchy who's allowed this to happen.
If the third secret was warning the faithful that we were going to see a massive destruction of doctrine, a massive destruction of our liturgical practices, so that the great majority of Catholics would really lose the faith. If that's what the third secret was about, and if it added in the fact that perhaps the hierarchy was going to be involved in actually doing this, well, if you were the Pope and you were part of the whole situation, I don't think you'd want it revealed, because immediately fingers would be pointed at you. Aha, are you one of those people that Our Lady is warning us about?
I wouldn't be surprised at all if there were specifics about how this general apostasy and loss of faith would come about. Would be very damning for the people in charge now, because they're carrying it out.
We can be very impatient with them. There are times we may feel anger with them, but do remember this, that the churchmen in Rome right now are reluctant to reveal the fullness of the third secret in the same way that those of us who are sinners would be reluctant to go into the town square and broadcast our own sins. We have made mistakes. Fortunately, we do not have the same burden on us. And no more than we would like to reveal something that told the world what terrible sinners we are, the third secret, I think, is being withheld by these men for that same reason.
Now, Our Lady came to Fatima as an emissary from God, as an ambassador from God. So it's not Our Lady's message, really. It is God sending Our Lady to us with these dire warnings. If she is giving us dire warnings, we not only have the right to know, we have to know for our own good.
The world at large have a right to know the third secret of Fatima, because it is very clear when the world goes off track, severely, not just Catholics, but the entire world, and the entire world was created by God and oriented to the end of being with God, so it concerns every soul born into the world, then God will, through a messenger, tell the world what it needs to know.
The situation is at once so ludicrous and so tragic and so overwhelming that the ordinary Catholic trying to do the right thing looks at the Church and is almost tempted to throw up his arms in despair and say, who am I? What can I do? Well, if the problem, as Sister Lucy has pointed out, is a diabolical disorientation, obviously the solution is a heavenly orientation. Okay? We have to turn away from the devil's direction and turn back to the direction of God, turn back to the direction of heaven. Now, obviously that direction is the one that has been pointed out by the Catholic Church through 2,000 years of our history. What every individual Catholic has to do is they have to more or less take a refresher course in their basic doctrine. Go back to the catechisms.
Our Lady of Fatima on October 13th said, "I've come to warn the faithful to amend their lives and ask pardon for their sins. They must not continue to offend our Lord anymore, because He's already too much offended." Certainly what we must do is amend our lives. Of course, we need to pray the Rosary to get the graces we need to amend our lives and to stay on the right course. But we must amend our lives. That means avoiding the occasions of sin. That means doing our daily duty. Those are things Our Lady insists that we do. She also, on that same day, October 13th, held out the brown scapular. And Sister Lucy tells us the Rosary and the scapular go together. She wants all of us to wear the scapular as well as pray the Rosary every day.
And then she gave us a plan of following the first Saturdays, do certain things on the first Saturday of the month. That's all she asked of us, the lay people. She asked of the Pope and the bishops to consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart, all of them together at one time. Specifically Russia. Various consecrations have been done. This has been very garbled, by people trying to protect the hierarchy. Various consecrations have been done that have never followed what she said.
Many believe that with the consecration ceremony of 1984, the Pope had finally acceded to the request of heaven, of Our Lady, that he consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart. It's very curious, if that is the case, that he never mentioned Russia. It is as if I were to make beef stew using a recipe that never mentions beef.
The ultimate solution will be when the Pope enjoins the bishops of the world to consecrate Russia to Our Lady's Immaculate Heart with him in a specific ceremony. That will be the ultimate. But the means to regaining the faith and getting the grace for the Holy Father